Shalom to everybody. Smile. It's easy to do once you learn how to do it all over again. Welcome to each and every one of you. I hope you guys are like jazzed up and jacked up and filled up with the good things and the spirit of source. What an amazing time it is that we live in on this earth. Infinitely greater than I think we can even than we are even yet imagining. So while we have begun a road that started for us, even in religion where we had begun the journey. And that's been quite a wonderful revelation I've all of a sudden kind of begin to experience about myself. As you grow and as you learn and as you study, you begin to see things, and then when you see things, hopefully you take the time to contemplate and think about and focus and look at. And I look back at 30 years ago when I was brought back into Christianity, and I see the teachings, pieces of the teachings, pieces of the way that Source, our Creator Father, the source of all things, the way that He has been so kind to bring me on my journey and other people that have come with me through Christianity. And I recognize now that while it may not be some people's roadmap, that is to say the straight and narrow path that leads to eternal life, there's so many of the biblical statements that are made, friends, that are infinitely more ancient than Moses was. And so we really are blessed. We really are loved. We really are light. We really do have reason to hope and expect and be happy and view the world from a totally different perspective. And I'm very thankful today that we get the opportunity to do that. And along the way, hopefully we truly learn how to love ourselves so that we can love other people and help them to maybe find, you can't do it, they have to choose to do it, but if they choose to do it, then they're going to need help. And some of the things that we've heard that have come through channeling are really just setting the stage for exactly what I just said. Why are we being blessed and being given an opportunity to learn now? And the reason for that, without any question, for every person, if you're wondering what your calling is, you may have some specific callings. Maybe you're not a clairvoyant. Maybe you're not a audience. Maybe you're not a psychic medium. Maybe you're not but every one of us have the calling to love other people. And so I kind of have coined that term as being the universal purpose for all of us, is that we first grow, we first remove the beam, we first learn how to love ourselves. And friends, what I shared with you guys was very basic on Saturday, but I promise you, if you have practiced with mindfulness and intent in your heart, and you'll hear that word intent a lot because it means everything. But if you have practiced with intent and heart just since Saturday till now, I guarantee you your life has already begun to be revolutionized. On Sunday we went on a trip to Kansas City, and I was driving, and while I was driving, I looked in the mirror and my eyes met my eyes, and it was just like the Spirit flowed through me. And, it was, at one level, it was hard to keep my eyes focused on it because I kept going back to that and things popped to my mind. And so I'm saying this in confirmation and reiteration and reassurance of what I shared with you guys about us loving ourselves and about us forgiving ourselves. There's nothing that we're going to learn that is a one-time deal, folks. This is a journey and this is a path, and we have to learn some of these things through so many facets, and it's just relax and go with the flow and enjoy. If you look in the mirror and yourself, for those of you who may not understand, maybe you haven't progressed as far as spiritualism, but when you look in the mirror and you're looking at higher self, we actually have a higher self, and it's been hidden from us, it's been stripped from us intentionally. And as we go along, I think that some of you will be able to grab that revelation really strong. I don't mean it to demean anybody, but we have been tricked. I don't know any other, I don't have any nicer ways to say it than just generically to say. There are many spirit tricksters that are trying to trip people, and they're functioning all over the world and all over the internet right this very day. And so I hope that you will, recognize that, because the first step for us to attain anything has to come with our recognizing that there is a need for us to attain something. That is to say, if you believe that you've gotten all that there is to get in the spirit realm, then you're probably not going to be very prone to do mindfulness and meditate and the other work that is necessary. You say, oh, well, so now we have no commandments, but now it's a thing of works. No, I don't say that. I believe that all of us are light inside of us just by sheer fact that we're humans. What I do say is if you want to become an enlightened human, that takes time, and it takes work on top of it. And so the work is not grievous, it's not difficult, but it is difficult. It is discipline. It is mindfulness on a umpteenth level. And as we grow, you will recognize how much that empowers you and how much it frees you. I'm not worried anymore about what's going to happen, friends, and neither should you be. I don't say don't be mindful to what's going on in the politics. Some things that we've heard that have been channeled from angelic beings through humans that are coming, that include the election, are quite shocking. And I think we need to not be ostriches. We're not in a time in history where we can afford to bury our heads in the sand. We have to be circumspect. And the Bible tells us that we are to be circumspect, which kind of means to be awake and paying attention. We are to be circumspect. We're not supposed to act like fools, because the days are evil and the time is short. And I think many of those verses that Paul said specifically, Paul was a New Ager, folks, 2,500 years ago. And so was Yeshua. And some of you are starting to see some of those pieces. And some of those pieces are going to start manifesting in your life. Please do not be scared when all of a sudden you begin to have weird foreign thoughts that have never been yours about things that you would have never worried about as a Christian. Okay? Please do not be concerned. Pay attention, give heed, but there's no reason for us to be scared. Wow. What an enlightening and a freeing message for those of you who've been in religious bondage for most of your life. Certainly it is for me. I've found my life, I find that the Spirit is with me actually more than it was in Christianity. And unfortunately, for most, it's the same Spirit that started me on this journey almost 40 years ago, 30 years ago. That's pretty crazy that he orchestrated my path through Christianity. I look back now and I don't believe he ever intended for me to stay in Christianity. I believe he brought me there so I could find out what it was really all about, so that when he began to prepare me for what is coming, which is where we are right now, I would have a unique perspective. And I've talked to some people who say, I didn't grow up in church. My parents didn't make us go to church. We didn't believe in God in that manner, in the religious manner. And so that person can never help somebody who's been 40 years in religion and is trying to come out and going, my world's falling apart. I don't know what I'm doing. It's all changing. I find out that El is some kind of a mythological god, and Yahweh is a Anunnaki. That's pretty mind shaking. And so please love yourself enough and give yourself the opportunity to find out what the peace that the Bible talks about. You know, I've often wondered this, as being a pastor and counseling for 30, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it was, lots of hours of counseling with Christian folk. And I just used to go home on a Saturday night after being at church for 12, 14 hours, and I would go home and just shake my head and go, man, none of these people are having peace. They're all constantly in strife. If they're not creating drama, they're tied up in somebody else's drama. This isn't the best that our Creator wants for us. And of course, now I'm beginning to understand why those people's lives are what they are. And maybe you're one of those, and maybe that was your life. Maybe it still is your life. It's okay. There is hope. We are a long ways from being to the end of this. And if we will take if we will put the trust in universe, if we will put our trust in the source of all things, it's okay to call him Father God if that fits for you. If you call him Father, Paul said, whereby we know him as Abba Father. I got no issues with that. The creator of the universe is the creator of the universe. The only questions in our minds that we've had is, who is that? At first it was El and Yahweh, and they were the same, and then we found out there's two completely different gods in the Bible of the Jews. Well, if they're both mythology, or one was an Anunnaki and one is a whatever El was, that kind of messes your belief system up a little bit. And so please don't be discouraged if you don't understand. Practice. For those of you who may not know much about it, for those of you who may want to experience, and I don't know if Mary Ann's put a link. If she hasn't, she will. But I would turn you on to somebody who will help you massively get free from some of the stuff that's going on for us. And he may be a bit over your head. That's okay. Just smile, nod your head while you're meditating, act spiritual, and all you have to do is say, Amen, Amen, Amen. And I promise you, you will get there. It will help you immensely. But the YouTube site is Tools for Ascension, and his name is Wolfgang. Amazing teacher, 50 years, whatever it is, studying the belief system that we think is so new. You know, I was pondering this early. It's crazy that Christianity is the newest religion developed amongst manhood, amongst humans. The newest religious sect, and I'm not talking about some little podunk nobody, okay? I'm talking about Christianity as a whole that came out of Constantine's 312, okay? And if you don't know what that means, then go research history some and you'll find out that Christianity did not start until almost 300 years after Yeshua was already dead. That ought to give you a wake-up call right there. None of these books were written by people who were contemporaries of him, with the exception maybe of Jude and Peter and James and some of Paul. But Paul is really kind of right after Yeshua's dead. All of a sudden, Paul, I suspect that he heard that Master Isa's words and understood, and he began a journey of enlightenment, just as we are. The Hebrew Bible, just so that you know, most upper class Hebrew rabbis will tell you that the Bible doesn't mean what their people are being taught that it means. Why? Because they understand mysticism from the Jewish perspective, which is called Kabbalah. They believe in it. They follow the Kabbalah. They do the works. They say the spells. As I said to you, when it hit me recently, and I love this, it's a reason I believe that we're right here, is this little prayer out of the book of Numbers that they quote every Shabbat, but that is nothing but a mystical, not curse, a mystical incantation. You are speaking to the spirit realm when you speak that thing. And that's really crazy. But I started doing it, and it guess what? It had power. It began to work. We immediately, within weeks, started seeing things change. And so, if you've always been tied up that you're going to hell and everybody else is going to hell, and everything that you don't understand or that Christianity didn't explain to you is from the devil, then this all might be a little bit hard. But if you can find it inside of yourself to allow yourself, and many won't, they'll walk away, they'll cuss me, they'll cuss other people. But I think it's quite strange that we view the what's called the New Age movement, which is exactly what I'm part of, and you are too if you're with me. But the New Age movement is actually 5,000 years old. It predates Christianity by 4,000 years and predates Judaism by 2,000 years plus. They just found some historical stuff, friends, at where is it? Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. 12,000 years ago. 12,000. That kind of blows the 5,000 year narrative out the water. 12,000 years ago, they have recently in Turkey uncovered some ancient stuff about the writings, religions, belief systems, and such of humans at that time. That predates Moses by 10,000 years. Wow. So there's been many, the Lemurians that existed on the earth and the Atlanteans, who everybody's heard of Atlantis. Maybe you don't even know why Atlantis disappeared, and we'll look at that sometime, because I'm going to speak a little bit when we get to the end if I ever get started. I'm so jacked up. These things are so wonderful and uplifting to me. I just get excited about it, and I have so much to say and so much to share, and I realize that I'm trying to also to learn how to, and that's kind of difficult for me. My personality is to spill it. Just say it. And so if you're not familiar with that intensity, it may be a bit much, and if it is, I apologize. I'm not going to change, but I do apologize. So, but we're going somewhere. This is not wasted. This is not nothing. This has more value than anything you've ever done in your life. And if you don't get this right, you're not going to it's not going to be the same picture. And I'm not speaking of hell. I'm speaking of the unknown, and I say that because I try to be a very humble person, and if I know something, I have no problems in sharing that. But when I know that the unknown is out there and I hear people saying what the unknown is, I tend to want to abstain from doing that. There's many things that we've seen, and there are many spiritual evidences, and there are many people that are channeling many things. And I will tell you, I don't understand every bit of it, and some of it I absolutely don't agree with. Maybe I will in time, but maybe I won't. Maybe the spirit force that's inside of me, raising me up, is protecting me from false teaching that other people are perpetrating, even about the New Age movement. So we always have to be on guard, but we don't have to be scared. We always have to be cautious, but we don't have to be scared. The Creator loves us. Say this with me. Every one of you here, every one of you everywhere. If you come by here and if you make it this far in this thing, I want you to make an affirmation with me. This will be the greatest affirmation you ever made, and it's so simple. I must believe that the universe has my best interest at heart. And I can tell you right now, if you'll say that until you believe it, it'll flip your world upside down. Folks, we've been lied to. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love our Creator. I love this Mother Earth, Gaia. I love you, whether I know you or don't know you. You know, people hear me and they go, well, you know, you say you love me. The difference is my words are not empty and hollow. I don't have to like everything about you. I don't have to agree with everything about you to make a choice to love you. You're a created force. Our Father put His light, the same light that's in me, exists in you. Whether you're in Austin, Texas, whether you're in Bowling Green, Missouri, whether you're in BFE, makes no difference. We all have the Creator's light inside of us, and we've all been tricked And we've all been lied to about what eternity is about. And I want to be what he made me to be, which is a healer that helps people get out of that rat race that has been created in the spiritual realm. And so if that touches you and your heart is truth, then please, you found the right place. We're going to go on. I don't know everything, and I'll be honest enough to tell you that right up front. But I do know a lot, and I do know that my Creator knows everything. And so if we'll just trust him and continue on and focus on doing our part of practicing meditation and doing our part of practicing mindfulness and doing our part of changing from what we were to what he wants us to be. And what he wants us to be is people that bring love to the world. That is the highest calling there is. And if you don't accomplish that one, you miss the whole point anyway. And I'm sure you'll be back to do it again. I'm so thankful to find out that we have been lied into believing that we have to be reincarnated. They're actually coming out things that we don't have to do this again, but we have to know what the truth is to keep from having to. And so I don't know about you. I'd rather be flying in the astral plane than I would struggling down here as a human for another 80 years after this. So please, just open your heart and open your mind. But there's lots of things that are coming out, and they're coming out all over the world, friend. This isn't just here. This isn't just me, and it's certainly not new. Age old, I would buy that, but it's not new. So we're going to look at Master Isa's teachings tonight, as we have been in the book of Thomas, the Gospel of Thomas. For those of you who may not know, the Gospel of Thomas was found and suppressed and hidden by the Roman Catholic Church before there ever was a Bible. Okay? They destroyed, they killed by millions Gnostic people, and Yeshua was a Gnostic, friend. He was a Jewish Gnostic, but he was not a Christian. And so if you're a Christian, that probably just breaks your heart that your Savior, who loved human sacrifice and loved drinking blood, all of which were commandments that the Creator never, those sacrifices actually, whether you know it or not, when you accept that you are drinking the blood and eating the body of him, can I give you a little spirit realm that you haven't understood at all? And I've been sharing pieces, but I didn't understand what it meant, and I'm beginning to now. Do you understand that you tie yourself to a curse when you confess that you eat blood and eat human flesh? That's an age old. Go all the way back to the Mayans, and what did they do? They harvested blood from people, and it gave them power. That's what this is all about, folks. That's why they put that in there. It keeps you in bondage. You will never get free as long as you stay under those belief systems. And so if you don't want to be free, then you should run to Sun Worship Day, and you should take the wafer, and you should drink the blood, and happy, happy, happy are you. But for those of you who know, this is, I'm going to say it in the nicest way. Sometimes we need to turn on our BS meter. Sometimes we need to turn on, and even more, while that's true, really what's more important and appropriate for us is that what we need to do is turn on our critical thinking. Here's the problem that we have, and it's what's part of what's put us into bondage. Okay? If I come here today and I say something to you, and you go, well, my meter just maxed out. Do you think it's going to bother me if you go do research and find out that I'm right? On the other side, if you haven't done research, then how in the heck do you know whether I'm right or not? And I watch people constantly, they fluff up because, well, if you want to be kind, I attack their holy cows. Okay? I attack their sacred cows. And I don't mean to do that. I'm not against anybody. I don't, by virtue, hate any Christians. I know the doctrine of Christianity is good as most preachers you'll ever meet in your life. That's how I can know that it's not true. How did I do that? Because I studied it and I took it apart and I looked inside of it and I found that it was irreconcilable as truth. And so if you take my words, you can go find 5,000 preachers that'll tell you I'm going to go to hell and the devil's my friend. Okay? Find them. I'll help you find them if you need help. I'm not scared about that. But what I am interested in is finding what true truth is. And then when I find truth, I'm going to accept it. It's going to be difficult. If I'm sharing these words with you and you can't understand why a person would want to meditate, until you begin to meditate, you won't understand what I'm saying. There's no way possible. On the other side, after you spend about an hour and 40 minutes and all of a sudden the whole day is totally different and your reality that lives around you begins to change simply because of what's going on inside of you, see, that proves something. It proves that I'm not wrong. And many of you have already told me in conversations that we've had that you're beginning already to find more peace. Well, how could you live as a Christian 60 years and in 2 weeks or 2 months find more peace with what I'm teaching than you found in 60 years of trusting Jesus? You ought to ask yourself that question. And if you're not willing to ask yourself that question, you don't want the truth in the first place. And I can't defeat that. You're tied to, I'm going to share this. I knew that I have pieces that I wanted to make sure that it got out there. Here's a piece for you guys. As above, so below. As below, so above. That's a little bit deeper than what most people are capable of. So this is a piece that I see that applies to every one of us in our day-to-day life. If you want to know what your life is on the outside, all you need to do is look on the inside. And so for you on a day-to-day basis, as is inside of you, so will be outside of you. We are a mirror to our life. But it's not your life making me what I am. It's me making my life what I am. And the minute that you begin to grab a hold of that, so you mean if I change spiritually what's going on inside of me, the world that I'm seeing around me is going to change? And my friend, that's exactly what I mean. But you can't find what's going on inside of you until you begin to look at who you really are, which is why forgiveness of ourselves is so important, which is why I felt like that was a start for someone who will come along and hear the truth and their life's going to be ripped up. I've had people tell me that they did that the day after, and it just, there was a flood of emotion and rush inside of them. Man, let's get rid of this horrible, nasty belief system we've had, and this horrible, nasty pain that lives inside of us, and this hurt, and this conviction of hell and sin. Which really brings me to the next question. Because for those of you that have been with me, this was a really nice little revelation that kind of floated in accidentally today. We've all believed that we're going to hell because we're sinners, and we've all that have been living in the Christian life have, for all of our Christian life, been trying to be sin-free, and none of us have been able to accomplish it. Right? Is that a pretty good synopsis of your life if you're a Christian? You read that you weren't supposed to do that, but you keep finding yourself doing it. You keep finding yourself that you're not supposed to be rude, and yet you keep finding yourself being rude. You found that you're supposed to love people like you love yourself, but then you find out that you do things to destroy yourself. So if you can destroy yourself, I promise you, you're really not all that concerned about anybody else. You think you are, but you're not. And so it doesn't work. Even Paul told us that. Everything that I want to do, I can't do. I am a wretched person. This is a guy that was in line to be the high priest of the nation of Israel. And he couldn't find, with the Torah and all of the rules and all of the regulations and everything that a Jew at that time at his status would have had to have lived through, and yet he still could not find it inside of himself to be okay with source. That should be a dead giveaway to us. And yet I tell you right now, in a very short time, days, weeks, you can find more peace with Source than you've ever had in your whole lifetime. You can actually begin to watch yourself do good things simply because you love to do good things. And so if that's a bit far-fetched for your mind, then that's just a picture for you of how far you may be from some things that you need to gravitate toward. Don't be condemned by it. Just begin to gravitate. The flow of the spirit of Source will pull you to the truth, friend. That's why I said you must believe that the universe and Source, call him God if you need to. I like the term Source. He's the source of everything. There's nothing that doesn't come from him. And so Source will draw you to the place and to the things that you need. Source will put things in your presence that you need. Source will bring the things in your life that you need. You just have to believe that Source really does. The universe is not your enemy, and you're not alone, and you don't need human sacrifice to find salvation, because you don't need to be saved. And I don't know about you, that's worth a lot of money right there. That truth is so profound, it's not even funny. So let me be quiet and let's go on. I told you I was jacked up. We're going to pick up in verse 77, if you are with me. He's going to teach us some really profound things, folks, and that starts right with verse 77 tonight. Yeshua, Master Isa, for those of you, maybe if there's somebody that comes along, if you do come along and you would like to, do all the YouTube things, we'd love for you to subscribe and be with us. We're here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We're here every Saturday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We have some amazing, blow you away, rock and roll, truth music, amazing words that'll change your life if you'll take the time to listen and then apply them. Verse 77 of the Gospel of Thomas. I'm reading once again out of the Scholars Edition. There are many books out there that have been interpreted by many people, but this is the one that would be at the scholar level, the college level. I believe it's the most correct on the whole. Most of them have been written off of this, so, depending on how much they wanted to edit determines what you got. But verse 77, I use the term Yeshua or Master Isa. I do use the term Jesus, only trying to orchestrate with people who I'm talking about. I don't like the Christian connotation of the name Jesus. It infers a lot of false teachings, and so that's why I abstain from it if you have any questions about that. And Yeshua said, I am the light that is over all things. Can I tell you something that may shock you? Did you know that you in reality could make that exact statement? You don't even believe that of yourself. We have been so brainwashed to be so sin conscious and so depleted of the freedom and the love and the recognition of what we really are. Man, I tell you guys, if there was a devil and people gained true enlightenment, there ain't 50 million devils that could exist on the face of this earth that could defeat us. That's how powerful we are individually, much less as a conglomerate. As our frequencies are raised and as we lose our lower density, as we come out of living a life of guilt. How many of you are guilty of being sinners? How many of you have paid the price for 30 years for being a sinner? How many of you have never forgiven yourself for being a sinner? And I'm talking according to Christianity. You can let that stuff go. The only sin that exists, and a very potent person who understands this infinitely, probably better than all of us, maybe ever will, made a statement today, and he said that sin is what we do that gets between us and source. And I don't know how many of you will really recognize how powerful that is, but I will tell you that, what was it, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago? Did I not tell you that Source spoke to me, the God who's always spoken to me, and told me that there were things that were separating me and him? That's the only form of sin that exists. Anything that gets between you and Source, you could call sin. Sometimes it's silly little things in our life that distract us. Sometimes it's something as simple as not meditating, because when you meditate, you open the door, you open your chakra, your crown chakra, you open your heart, your other chakras, to access connection, divine connection with Source. And so from his perspective, as he spoke to me, I now have confirmation from somebody that also lives on this earth that the only thing that we do that hurts us is when we do things that cause separation between him and us. Because it stops the flow of the power that he wants for us to possess. And he doesn't want that. He never intended for that. So if you hear me happen to accidentally use the word sin, it's not sin in that you're breaking commandments anymore. I very, very strongly used to teach that in Christianity. Sin is transgression of the Torah. That is not the definition I now possess if I say the word sin. Sin is simply something that I allowed to get between me and my Creator. It might be, I'm sorrowful, I don't have time to meditate, and 5 days later, guess what? My whole life is all of a sudden I'm getting low vibes again, and I'm getting dense again, and all of a sudden I can't access the Spirit. That's the only form that I even value, is putting the word sin on. And it's not something that's going to send me to hell. It's something that I'm to learn to disdain and push out of my life, to quit walking that timeline of stopping what I'm doing. See, we have an option to not walk a timeline. Just because other people act bad doesn't mean I have to walk their timeline. They are walking a dimension I'm not interested in walking in. I'm going to walk in peace. They can get mad, they can be prideful, they can be egotistical, they can be arrogant, they can be all of those things and 1,000 more, but I'm not interested in walking that timeline. They have to do it by themselves. And when you'll take what I just said, friend, that right there will flip your world upside down. So he said, I am the light that is over all things. And for some of you, that may be too difficult for your mind at this state to grab a hold of. What is he saying? But even more so, how does that apply to us? I am the light. So we would say, well, that's Jesus. It's not Jesus, friends. That's a spiritual principle. You also are in everything. I am the light that is over all things. I am all. And you'll see on Saturday when we look at the Kabbalion that this is going to creep up in there. So it's going to blow you away that what I'm reading in the book of Thomas existed thousands of years before Yeshua. I am all. Can I tell you, when Yeshua told us that, don't you know that you are Elohim? Do you know that Christianity has done everything they can do to keep you from finding that out? Because if you ever find out the power, you'll never buy their nonsense again. Never. You will never be deceived by Christianity again the minute that you find out that you've been tricked and lied to. So I am all. From me all came forth, and to me all attained. So you read that, and your context of that is he's saying that him, the man Jesus, is all of those things. You don't understand what he's saying. He's not talking about him, the man Jesus. He's talking about the light that is inside of him. He's talking the essence of who he is, the Spirit, if you would. And you, my friend, are the same Spirit. You are, I'll coin his words from a week or two ago. You are the light of the world. Not going to be, not could be, not might be. Not should be, not might be if you would figure out how to be good enough. He made a statement and told you what you are. You just refuse to accept it. And for those of you that have accepted that, glory to you. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Friends, we've lived under bondage our whole lives. You think the Exodus was big. The Exodus wasn't anything. The Exodus that's going on right now of people coming out and recognizing there is something going on. I won't get into all the things that are going on. There is a total frequency change that is going on in the world. It's gonna be happening over the next 10 years. There's stuff that's going to be tied with this election that has to do with frequencies, that has to do with the changes that are coming for this earth. When the thing is finished, there will be a completely different frequency functioning in the earth, and many changes will happen to humanity. We are headed towards becoming closer to what we used to be thousands of years ago than what we are now. In fact, you will probably not be able to even notice humanity is the same being. So I am the light that is over all things. I am all. Am I God? No. But God is in me. I am part of God. But I am not source. That's why I use the term source, because you have to be very careful. You don't have the source. You are tied to the source. And from me all came forth, and to me all attained. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. See, we don't understand that because we don't understand that light and frequency and vibrations and all of those things and energy are what everything exists from. You will hear people make statements, if you've watched very much on YouTube, that we are all connected. Do you know that that's one of the truest statements that's made, which is why Yeshua teaches you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself? Because if you don't love your neighbor as yourself, you're destroying yourself just like you're destroying them. Why? Because we are all tied together. Now that's a revelation. If you don't have it, when you get it, it'll blow your mind what it really means. When you understand that there are very malignant spirit forces who have been controlling and harnessing humans to extract energy from us, we are nothing but energy slaves for spirit beings. And that may sound weird to some of you, and it is, but it is the truth. We are slaves. Why do we have so much wars? Because as long as they keep the fear on the earth high, we create negative energy is infinitely more and easier to produce than positive energy is. And so they have harnessed negative energy from this earth since the beginning of mankind. I am all, and from me all came forth, and to me all attained. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. But what if he wasn't just talking physically about his self, Esau? What if he was actually talking about all of us? And Jesus said, why have you come out to the countryside to see a reed shaken by the wind? And to see a person dressed in soft clothes like your rulers and your powerful ones, your Elohim? Isn't that funny? They actually interpreted the Elohim word right. Your powerful ones. He didn't say your God. He said your Elohim, your powerful ones. Multiple, plural. Why? Because monotheism in Judaism did not exist until around 600 BC, which accounts for about 3,000 years where they were polytheistic, where they worshiped the same gods all the other people worship, like Ishtar, all the ones, that we used to make fun and laugh at people about because they were pagans. Wow. Man, they've really screwed history up, folks. So, like your rulers and your powerful ones, they are dressed in soft clothes, but they cannot understand the truth. So, here's the thing. That is an option. It is an option for you because you don't understand. It is an option for you to close your ears and just continue what you're doing. I'm just going to tell you as a friend and a person who loves you, you're not going to be happy with the outcome down the road. It's not going to serve you well. I don't say that you're going to go to hell, because I'm not really fully convinced at this point that there is a quote-unquote hell according to the way Christianity presents hell, where there's weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. But I'm also haven't ever been there, so how the heck do I know? You know what I'm saying? I'd rather focus, I want to be on the other side of that equation. I ain't worried about it. It ain't where I'm going. I'm going to find the light, and I'm going to love people, and I'm going to grow, and I'm going to do supernatural powers all over this earth. And it ain't going to matter to me whether there is a place for people who chose not to. That's their problem, not mine. So a woman in the crowd said to him, "Lucky are the womb that bore you and the breast that fed you." And he says to her, his rebut to her, "Lucky are those who have heard the word of the Father." Can I just add right there, I've already defined that for you. Yeshua would have actually, what that actually means is not happy are those who find Yahweh, who wants to kill you, and is a jealous God, an Aaronic warrior. It's not what he's talking about. When he says Father, he's talking about source. He's talking about the light. So, lucky are those who have heard the word of the Father and have truly kept it. And Christianity says the Torah is done away with, but the only other way to define the word of the Father is when you believe that the Torah was the words of the Father in which we were to live by. So he's either saying Torah or light, and neither one includes Christianity. Very sad. Lucky are those who have heard the word of the Father and have truly kept it. Wow. For there will be days when you will say, "Lucky are the womb that has not conceived and the breasts that have not given milk." Lucky are the children, the spirits, who were never born. And Yeshua said, "Whoever has come to know the world has discovered the body." Very, very, very significant spiritual, metaphysical teaching he's about to make in this one simple little statement, friends. This is not Christianity. This is not Judaism. This is Gnosticism. Gnosticism says, "I am light." They crushed, killed, and destroyed every Gnostic writing that they could find. The Roman Catholic Church did. Intentionally, not accidentally. When they went through the Crusades and the Inquisition and they took over Palestine, they destroyed every Gnostic person and teaching that they could find. Gnosticism existed when Christianity was not even thought of. Whoever has come to know the world has discovered the body. So whoever has known to look at this thing. Why is Christianity so hard tied to hiding the spiritual from you? Because they want you to know the world. They don't want you to know the spirit and the light that you are. And so when you've found out what the world is, let's see what Master Isa, the elevated, ascended master guru, let's see what Master Isa has to say about this situation. Whoever has come to know the world has discovered this physical body, or the physical plane. They're in 3D, the third dimension. And whoever has discovered the body of that one, the world is not worthy. Do you see the nuance of what he's saying to you? Until you recognize that this is nothing and that what we are, the essence, the power, all of the things that of what we are is what is inside. When you discover that your physical body means nothing and you do not die when this physical body dies, friend. In fact, you will never die. But that's really funny because 35 years ago, I was telling people that we were spirit beings living forever. I never studied New Age anything in my whole life until 6 months ago. And I have thousands of spiritual sayings that the Spirit was giving me that I was speaking to people with no knowledge of what they actually meant. Sorrowful, that's been my journey. I've been on this journey for a long time. I just didn't know it. But I know he knows me and he knows I'll follow him. That's why he speaks the words he speaks to me about what he's going to do with me. Because he knows I'll follow him. So the one who has discovered the body of him, the world is not worthy. When you begin to recognize that this body means nothing, friends, it doesn't. You're going to live here. Yeah, you've probably been here, maybe 5 times, maybe 5,000 times. Depends on who you are and what you were. But you've existed since the beginning, no matter what plane you were in. And Jesus said, the one who has become wealthy should reign, and the one who has power should renounce it. Once again, some more Buddhism, Hinduism. Those teachings exist in all of the ancient teachings. To be something, we have to become nothing. Sounds very similar to this homeboy out there in Palestine wilderness who said, for him to increase, I must decrease. Did y'all know John was a mysticist too? How crazy it is, man. It's everywhere. I must become nothing. That's a statement stolen directly from the Tibetan monks and the Buddhist monks in China. I must become nothing to become something. So let me please share this love with you. The only time that you're something is when you become nothing. And the only way you can become nothing is to learn how to conquer your ego. See, we've been told all our lives, well, no, we haven't been told in the manner that we should all of our lives, but many people in philosophy and especially people who've gone through higher education like college and stuff have at least been exposed to philosophy. But you can never control your ego. You can never do away totally with your ego. I watch it all the time. Something happens, somebody gets pissed off, and they act bad. That was nothing but a timeline, and all you did is showed that you're an ego. You're still driven by your ego. Some of the most prominent teachings say that if we ever let anybody affect us emotionally, then we are very low on the totem pole. So it doesn't mean that you don't have an ego. It means that you learn how to control it. You don't do away with it. And so you get pissed off because you think you're something and you think they shouldn't talk and you think they shouldn't act and you get mad and then you just prove who you are. You didn't hurt them. You made yourself look bad. You just proved that you're an ego maniac. You act irradical when your ego jumps up. Wow. I've learned a lot. So then we have to learn to control our ego. We have to learn how to have inner peace. We have to learn how to control our emotions. It's not okay for us to let people control us by causing us to be angry, by causing us, and we're going to do it, I'm so pleased. This is a journey. As I said earlier, this is a journey and this is a process, and for everyone who begins this journey, it's going to take you a while. It took me 60 years to get here. I ain't going to unlearn all this stuff, but I can recognize that it's the truth, even if sometimes I fail. And guess what that does? That takes the load off of me when I fail so that I can what? Forgive myself again. So then how do you deal with it? You go, in the spirit realm, you slap yourself in the side of the head and tell yourself how smart you're not, and then you fix it. Metaphorically speaking. I'm not talking about slap yourself in the face. So the one who becomes wealthy should reign, and the one who has power should renounce it. You only need to define one word out of that, and that's the person who becomes wealthy. You remember the teaching about the pearl of great price you found? Do you know that you don't even know what the pearl of great price was talking about? Sorrowful friends, what I'm sharing with people is the pearl of great price. And he teaches that for those people who find, I don't know if you have, maybe you haven't, maybe you never will. Maybe you'll stay in your ego and you'll run around and beat your head against the wall while you talk about how spiritual you are. Many will do that. I'm not interested. The pearl of great price is the wisdom with which I'm sharing with you. That is the pearl. And he says the person who finds the pearl should sell everything that they have just to attain it. To attain it. In other words, to attain something means you have to collect it to yourself. So the one who's wealthy should reign. Why? Because they found the pearl of great price. Yeshua said, whoever is near me is near the fire, and whoever is far from me is far from the Father's domain. Wow. So can I give that an English interpretation? Whoever has no clue about the light that we truly are is really a long ways from source. In a very simple statement. It's crazy, man. He's tearing it up. This guy is amazing. I love Yeshua or Master Isa more than I ever did as a Christian. But I don't accept Jesus. That's a lie. '83. Images are visible to people. Oh, come on now. How do you deal with this? Listen to what he's fixing to tell you. Images are visible to people, but the light within them is hidden in the image of the Father's image. Anybody ever watched any near-death experiences? Although there's some trickery that's going on with those things, and I know you guys don't know that, and I'm not getting into that right now because I have a lot of research to do. But all of you recognize that everybody wants to go to the light, and that all of them just across the board know that the light is God? Any of you, if you've watched any of them, that's exactly what you heard. Every single time. That's Yeshua's teaching us the truth here, friend. Images are visible to people, but the light within them is hidden in the image of the Father's light. He will be disclosed, but his image is hidden by his light. So if we see the Father, we're going to see light. We're not going to see God sitting on a chair with a big beard and the glory of the Lord fill the train of the temple and yada, 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 a bunch more Jewish mysticism. What you're going to see is the light if you ever see Father. Which is why light all of a sudden is the most important thing. And you are light. You have light in you. You exist in light. And if you've recognized who your body is and that your body is not light, why does that matter? Because if my body's not light, then my body cannot be perfect. My inner man is what must be perfect. So can I do things and be okay? Can't answer that question for you, and neither will I even try. I have lots of opinions, but until I die and I'm on the other side, I'm not going to know the answers I'd love to give you. Some of this has to be walked out by faith, friends. You either believe a statement a friend made to me pretty recently. You must believe that the universe has your best interests at heart. And if you'll focus on that and let the light of the Creator pull you to Him, He will lead us all to truth. So, images are visible to people, but the light within them is hidden in the image of the Father's light. That's why you hear me make the statements of we're all the same, friends. The light that's inside of you is the exact same light that's inside of me. We all look exactly the same to Him. We're all light. In fact, many of the stories speak that there are people who can't understand unless they can relate to the physical realm. But since they're going to come back to the physical realm anyways because they're on the hamster wheel called reincarnation, and they don't know that they could get off of that and not have to come back, that is a free will choice. And many are teaching that you can't, that you're obligated to do this thing, but you're a really good source of energy, and if you don't keep coming back and being reincarnated, then the quantity of energy diminishes, and of course, they don't want that. But there is a way for us to opt out of reincarnation and to go to the astral plane with the light. Unfortunately, you never get to hear about those near-death experiences because those people chose not to come back. When you see your likeness, you are happy. But when you see your images that came into being before you and that neither die nor become visible, how much will you have to bear? And I'm going to stop right there. But that, friends, that's just right. If you can see how much He's confirming the things that I'm telling you. You were before you were, and we're only one thing. We are light. We are energy. We are light. Every single one of us. We are all from the same light, from the same source. We all are. When you hurt me, you hurt yourself. When I hurt me, I hurt you. And if we would begin to live according to the truth, we would take this earth back over and true peace would reign. You can't raise your vibrations when you're in a low density state. That's why all of this is going on, friends, is to free us. The greatest exodus that's ever going to happen is the one that's going to happen here possibly within the next 10 years, but it's already happening all over the place. This movement that's going on that I'm speaking about, He's been bringing me to for 30 plus years. When you see your likeness, you are happy. But, so what does that mean? Remember the teaching on but? When but gets put into a sentence, everything that was said before it is negated. It doesn't mean that it didn't still exist. It just simply means that it doesn't have the importance it had before the but. But when you see your images that came into being before you, okay, let's define my images that came into being before me. How the heck does that work? So then I was before I was. This is exactly what that means. When your images that came into being before you, when my image that existed before this house, this temple, Peter called it, don't you know that your body is the temple of what? The set apart spirit, the light. It's all over the Bible. But when you see the images that came into being before you, this physical body, and that neither died nor become visible, you're never going to see yourself on this plane. You're nothing but an orb of light. Adam and Huai, if they even existed, were here before human body. They were nothing but orbs of light. That's why they had no genitalia. That's why they didn't have sex. That's why Yeshua says that we won't when we come to the place of enlightenment. We're no longer humans, friends. We're spirit. Bible explained. So, but when you see images that came into being before you and that neither die nor become visible, how much will you have to bear? Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, I hope I've been a blessing to you guys. Give heed to the thought process. The ego is going to be one of the things that destroys people the most. It's going to keep you. You can, as I said, and I don't mean that mean, and it's certainly not mean-spirited, but you can desire to walk towards and never mature in control of your ego, and you might as well stand against the wall and beat your head on the wall, because you're never going to attain spirituality or enlightenment unless you control your ego, because your ego is always going to keep you in the human plane. Please hear me. Even if you don't totally understand, please listen in your spirit to the words I just said. I'm trying to help somebody. But if you find yourself constantly prone to be angry, it's because of your ego. If you find yourself constantly tied up in pride, it's nothing but your ego. You're being ego controlled, not spirit controlled. And the minute that you find that out, your life will begin to revolutionize. So, blessings to each and every one of you. There's an amazing journey here with absolutely mind-boggling beauty in store for those who follow. So, shalom to each and every one of you. I hope that you truly will open your ears and your heart and begin to hear with your light, and begin to recognize inside of you that you really are something amazing and supernatural. And if you do, you'll begin to find peace. You'll begin to quit playing games with yourself about how important you really are, because really, honestly, you're everything and nothing. If you don't find enlightenment, it's not going to affect anybody but you. You will just stay very low, dense, struggle with anger, all the other human traits. But the good news is you don't have to. Shalom.